What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. Man, we're like counting down. There's some really, really awesome things that are just really brewing, literally and figuratively, starting to happen. Like all the messages, like being in the gym and people coming up and being like, oh my God, I'm listening to you right now. Just some really cool things happening. But the other day, so it was like my hometown Brighton here, our soccer team made it to the state finals. And they're coached by Mark Howell, Mark Howell is an incredible human being. And he was actually episode number 4 and number 5 of Coffee and Grit. Number 4 and number 5, because we sat down and had a 3-hour banger that I had to separate into two episodes. And just, if you don't know Mark's story, go check out episode 4 and 5, because it is just one that's phenomenal. So he coaches this team to the state championship. And the last time Brighton's been to the state championship is in 1998 when Mark Howell was a sophomore on that team. So super cool. My friend Mark is out there, at the state championship. Yesterday, they unfortunately lost Saturday. They lost the state championship to Troy Athens High School, who's, an hour away from here. And as I'm looking at Facebook yesterday morning, I see my friend Rafid Bona is posting his son won the state championship and plays for Troy Athens. And so what's really, really freaking cool about this is Rafid was episode number 1 of Coffee and Grit. And his son played on Troy Athens. And then Mark Howell coached Brighton against his son, and he's episode number 4 and 5. Like in the world, and that's what's happening on Coffee and Grit right now, is like the world is getting smaller and smaller.
I love being a connector. It's a fun thing. It's
connecting. And
it's a fun thing.
It's really cool. And people are like, oh my God, I heard that episode. Corey Thompson, I want to meet her. Can you connect me with her? And I heard like people are reaching out and having those conversations. It's so cool. And it's other guests are reaching out and like, hey, I heard that other episode. Can you connect me to that person? And they're just, it's difference making. And so it's really cool, the orbit and kind of the things that's happening. But it gave me a chance too to catch up with Rafid. And we are on the works of scheduling him to be on, and it'll actually be the 4-year anniversary of when Coffee and Grit started. And it's really cool because I got a chance to, how do you start something? I've told this story a few times about, several times about being at the coffee table, but I got a chance to go back through our Facebook messages and see my original message to him. It was like, hey, I'm creating a little content series on world changers, and, that I'm interviewing world changers. I'd love to have you on to talk about fear. And it's just really cool to see that little conversation that's now unfolded to, this is episode number 135, over 4 years. Like, it's just really cool. Consistency. It's consistency. And people reach out to me and like, this guy, and he's actually going to be on this month, Adam San Juan, out of Chicago, heard Michael Mann's episode. And it's like so much excitement. So I got to share this. Reached out to me from Michael Mann's episode, and he wrote a book, and he wants to be on the podcast, but he was saying, I've been invited to be on so many different podcasts. And he was like, I've listened to them. And he was like, I don't want to just spend my time on every podcast. I want the prime rib of podcasts. And after hearing yours, I'm convinced you're a prime rib. And it's like, holy shit.
Nice.
Holy shit, Grant.
Prime rib, man.
You're freaking prime rib.
Man,
There you go.
yeah.
Look at you.
You should get that tattoo. Get that tattoo.
That's a pull quote right there.
Sure. Prime rib of podcast.
So super awesome. So hashtag prime rib. So
Yeah.
I'm loving it. And it's just having difference makers like Shelly Smith in the studio. And that's all I get to do is come here and have awesome conversations and again, just learn about difference makers. And what's really cool about Shelly is I've told this story, several times, how people just come into your life. And, I met Shelly when I was in a different world, when I was a director of sales at Wireless Zone in Ann Arbor. And she was it Aflac?
No, I was the sales coach.
Sales coach, yes.
I came in to do a presentation because I had met Colleen.
Yes.
And then I'd met the person who owned a bunch of stores in the area, and I was going to the stores doing team workshops for y'all.
So then a few months ago, we were at the Cirrustet Referraltopia. Yep. Another shout out to Steve. He gets one per episode. So I'm like, I know her. Yes, and then you came over and was like, hey,
I know you. Yeah. Such a small world.
It's such a small world. And
Such a small world.
I remember when our first conversation, I think we were at like a Panera and just talking about like your sales background and how you started and like doing basically the door-to-door sales.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Let's kick off there. Like,
oh, okay. Yeah. Sales background. So yeah. And it's interesting because Angela, who founded AsKevin, the company I'm with now.
Yeah.
When she, a few years ago, her and Kevin, the real Kevin, her spouse, are in Los Altos, California. And she was, you know, having this idea that she wanted a more like heart-centered, service-minded business. She was kind of tired of being in corporate tech and all that.
Yeah.
And even though they're right in the middle of Silicon Valley, all their neighbors really always ask them for help, you know. Can you come over later, or can you ask Kevin if he... Anyway, she was trying to figure out the business model and scripts and all these things. And so she went on LinkedIn literally looking for people that sold books door to door because she sold books door to door. She's exactly my age. She worked for the same door-to-door book selling company, Southwestern, and worked in a different division. But her best friend was someone that I used to go to sales manager meetings with, like when I was 20 years old. And she's like, oh, do you know this person? I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been to Jamaica and Mexico and probably Wales with that person. It just was such a small world. And so that made us immediately connected. If it's like, oh, you've sold books door to door. So
That's
have
like
I.
a unique experience.
Yes,
It's
we
like
don't. We can skip a lot of intro. You can skip a lot of intro. So you just like randomly went to a different part of the world and found a place to live, and then met everyone in that town, and then created a business out of nothing while you were too young to know what you were doing. Me too.
Me too.
I did
Me too.
Yeah. Did you have to learn a couple of random languages? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I was in California. It was great. Yeah. So did that for 9 years and then had a lot of other sales jobs. I was a school fundraiser, sales rep. I sold international travel, these tour packages, and then went and led those tours. And I've worked at a jazz club, and I've been a show producer, and I was a sales coach for 6.5 years, and worked for a health coaching company. I sold supplemental insurance for a while, and then, you know, have been working with AsKevin with a startup, you know, and it has been, we were, before we started recording, talking about tech support. And if you'd have told me only 3 years ago that I would be working with a company that did tech support, no one would have believed it, because here was the other thing that connected Angela and I. So we both sell books, and she's Zooming with me going, listen, I'm trying to make this into like a company. And I'm like, okay, I want it to exist as well because my tech support sucks. She's like, everybody's tech support sucks. And so, but she said, so tell me, think about it for a couple of days, you know, tell me how you feel about working together. And so I texted her a video that I'd made about 6 months before, where I threw my printer over the side of my apartment, like 2 stories, and then ran down the stairs, and I have it all on video and everything, and smashed it with golf clubs and
like
sledgehammers.
Office Spaced it.
Oh yeah, with friends. It was a whole thing. And since then, I've done a bunch of other tech smashing type videos. And I just texted him to her. Like, we'd had a couple of interviews. I'm talking about being employee 1 of a startup, but also I'm like, if she's going to get me,
oh my God,
as like a business coach and a partner, and like I'm a serious worker and all this, but she also needs to know everything about me. So she has no, you know, surprises. So I'm just like, just so you know, I understand tech frustrations. And I'm just, because that's what it was. I was to the point where I looked at my printer one day and I'm like, I don't even trust you anymore. You're not salvageable. You're lying to me. I just put ink in you. You have ink. I can see it. And one day I'm like, I can't take it. I'm like, this is like what they're going to show in Robot Army training camp in like 60 years. Like, there she is, folks. The leader of the Robot Resistance Army. It's me, just like murdering a printer that was somebody's grandpa in the Robot Army. We've all heard the story.
Before we get back at it, a quick shout out for our sponsor, Playbook Builder, powered by AI. This show has always been about giving the resources and the tools to small business owners in order to grow and scale your businesses successfully. And so I'm so excited to partner with a company that does just that. If you've listened and heard any of our guests, you've heard talking about building process, developing and training, building culture, are all such important pieces in order to building a great company. Well, Playbook Builder, powered by AI, has come along and revolutionized the game on how you can do that for your team and people. Whether you're onboarding new people, training and developing, continued training and developing, you're looking to scale your business or eventually sell, or most importantly, you're looking to build a legacy as a visionary. Playbook Builder, powered by AI, is able to solve those problems for you. For me as a consultant, I've been able to plug in, and it's so amazing for what I do for clients. I can now leave a legacy. And so, for example, I'm next week training a new hire for a company, and I've been able to build out the next month of her training program using Playbook Builder, powered by AI. The cool thing about the AI, what does that do? What's the hardest part of building out a process? Taking the step by step and making it easy to learn. What the AI piece does is you can actually type in what process it is, whether you want to onboard, if you want to onboard a new employee, type in onboard a new employee and what type of industry you're in, and the AI will put together a foundation for you to build out your playbook. It is absolutely incredible. But don't take my word for it. Head on over to playbookbuilder.com, and these guys have set it up to where you can take this for a test run with no obligations. Plug in what kind of playbook you want to build. If it's a sales training playbook, for example, plug that in the description. And in the description, you can also put in what kind of industry you're in, and then hit generate, and it will generate a playbook for you. Impress from there, and you can take a 30-day free trial of the playbook system altogether. So I didn't know this story, which is what is so awesome, because I just said stories are data with soul,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I asked you a question about your sales experience, and I had no freaking clue that it tied to how you found AsKevin.
Yes, Angela went on LinkedIn looking for, first she called the consulting company where I used to work, Southwestern Consulting, grew out of the book selling, and it's still thriving at this, what I was with when I came to see you. And she was connecting, and she ended up being connected to a mutual friend of mine who's a branding expert. And I think you remember this, Rory Vaden. He wrote Take the Stairs, the book I gave you. Yes, and Procrastinate on Purpose. So she works with Rory's new company. And Angela, the founder, had called Kristen and was working with my friend Kristen at the branding company. And she kept saying, I need someone who can do this, and I need someone who can do this, and I need someone who can teach people to do these things. She's like, I think my friend Shelly knows how to do all of these things, and we need to stop talking about it and just get her in the loop. And so it came to me out of just, it's so amazing, because she's over there in Los Altos, California. I'm over here in Michigan minding my own business. And all of a sudden I'm like, what? Okay.
Smashing your printer.
Just minding my own business, just assaulting technology with implements, rakes, And
then she's like, do you want to go to tech support?
Yes, God, please. Like the movie where it's like, where does she get to the breaking point where something has to be done? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. And that's when she knew. No, but, and I realize now, like, I feel like not everybody's smashing something, but we're on appointments all the time. And someone will say, I felt so stupid. This thing makes me feel so stupid. And in almost every single appointment, it's like, oh man, everybody feels stupid about this. Like, it's not good. I wouldn't want to be in an industry that caused people to feel stupid. I'm okay helping people not feel as stupid, but I'm like, somebody listen to these people, make it easier, change. Something,
or support them.
Yeah, or support them. Answer the phone. Something. And I always tell them, I'm like, hey, if they ask you to rank their customer service experience, you better be honest. Tell them exactly what was wrong with it. Because
if not, they'll just keep doing it. I mean, they probably will anyway, but.
Right.
Yeah.
But surely somebody, I feel like, well, this is interesting because you invest in humans. You're a human to human person. Your business is human
Yep.
information.
Yep.
And caring about an outcome. You can see the outcome. Is that person living a better life?
Yeah.
We've set benchmarks that would define what living a better life means.
Yeah.
Are those happening? Are they sleeping better or saving more money or having more honest conversations? And there's benchmarks.
Is it easier for them?
Is it
Like when
easier
you think
for
about
them?
sales, for example, is it easier for them, or are they looking at their 20-step process? They're like, no, I got to do.
Right.
So I had a client that
Yes.
went through a different training, and he was like, I felt like there was like all these steps, and I had to go through the next one, and he was just, got too confusing for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you, well, it was what we were realizing is like tech doesn't fix tech, the missing link is humans.
Yeah.
You're always on the phone going, please let me talk to a human. Please press 0. Ah!
So the answer to figuring out tech isn't downloading another app?
No. Maybe.
Really?
Is there one app that's like, hey, can you give me hey Siri, give me the app that makes all the other apps not suck? Does that exist? Just one big red button in the middle of my phone that just makes all the things not need 19-step verification?
So
it's insane.
So you send her that video, and then
yes.
How do you? How do you then?
I might
start
tangent, Jason.
No,
full
I love
disclosure.
it, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because she was just saying like, I want to make this work, and I need somebody to collaborate with, and I think we have enough in common, and we understand each other's way of doing business. Blah 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 blah. How do you feel about being employee one? And so for the first 6 to 8 months or so, I was coaching her in Los Altos about what kind of a model was going to work. And it's not like nobody's ever seen a tech support model. There's ones as big as Geek Squad and Genius Bar and all that. But then there's also lots of little ones all around everywhere, And it's like, well, we don't really want to be small business. We really like being in people's homes. So solopreneurs and really everybody has been like underneath the wave of how much tech is invented every day, every month, every week. And you're not being taught it. It's just being handed to you.
Yeah.
Here's 1,000 pieces of information for you to integrate into your life. Wait, 5 minutes later, here's another one. You got that one? Because there's 10 more coming before tomorrow. You can't even eat or drive or pay for gas. You got to do something digital. So we just realized that it's got to be better. It's got to be better.
Yeah.
Because what if it doesn't get better? People are so stressed about it. So anyway.
And there's just more and more coming out.
And there's just more and more coming, right? And it was supposed to make things easier. See, that's the real confusion for people. So I knew I was sold on the idea, but it was like, first, because we both sold bookstore to door as college students, we kind of thought that might be the model, But then we realized that just being young and tech savvy is not the skill. The skill is compassion and curiosity and extreme patience and being an encouraging person and 900 other human traits that are come above understanding technology. Because you can look things up. You can figure things out if you want to spend 9 hours doing it, but it's not like, the point is, do you have the patience to go through the process and the personal wherewithal to be with someone when they're that stressed with an inanimate object?
Yeah.
And you have to be patient enough, and everybody knows what it feels like to have someone help you that does not want to help you.
Absolutely.
You can feel it.
Yep.
You can feel if they're patronizing. You can feel it. Or it's a relative who doesn't really want to help you because every time they come over, they got to help you. And they're tired of doing it. And so there's got to be a better, kinder way of going about it. So I was into that. But what I realized is like, it's a highly emotional, it's a high EQ job. Mm-hmm. It's not just a tech support job. Yeah. Our model, right? We want it to be better, I guess. And so we didn't think it was just straight college student job. It was more of a boutique, like custom We want to take care of you. We want you to be able to call us every time.
Yeah.
We want to know your dog's name.
Yeah.
And understand that last year you tried using a Mac, but you realized you liked an HP. We want to be the people that like understand, you know. And how do you do that in a world that's like hurling towards removing humans from the process? So what's interesting is we wanted to duplicate what was going on in Los Altos. They were starting to get traction through Nextdoor and just word of mouth. And there's a school nearby, and we held a fundraiser with it. Just various ways things got out there. She joined the chamber. She found a BNI. She found, you know. And then she wanted me to duplicate it in Washtenaw County. And so I hired a partner in December, and he ended up coming to California in January. And he was just perfect. Like the person that, if all those things I listed, because that was what we were looking for. We realized like, oh, we really have to be super, super specific about what we want. Because there's plenty of people who are like, yeah, I've done tech support for a while. You know, it's like, oh, okay, that's not really how I should even word this.
Yep.
I need somebody completely, almost like social work, you know. And
Yes,
then,
not answering the phone like, hey, this is Brenda. You know, like,
or
what do you want?
just understanding that people are going to need to bitch a little bit.
Yes.
They need to feel heard.
It's a special skill.
They need to feel heard,
Yes.
you know? So realizing that over time, that was such a big part of the skill. Anyway, so we've been providing service in Washtenaw County since January. Yeah.
That's
So here
awesome.
we are. And, you know, being entrepreneurs, it's interesting because you can see the next 6 or 7 challenges that might be coming.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with, you know, growing your business is you can only do what you can do today.
Absolutely.
On this list.
But you see them coming, so.
Right. Yes. But you also have to go, oh, okay, there's really no need for me to worry about that step 3 steps away today. You know, that's part of your decision every day as a leader, or like how to prioritize. It's like, sure, I need to be aware that that's a concern.
Yep.
But
Not looking at it every day and be like, oh my God, it's coming.
yes, yes.
The end is near.
Yes. Well, because I'm always kind of thinking about the automation of everything and just like praying that there's got to be a pendulum swing back from terrible customer service. Like, can we all join together in prayer? Please.
Join our hands together.
Please,
Yeah.
can we just reevaluate what is happening with removing humans from grocery stores and phone companies, having somebody that answers the phone, and just what that does to people? Like, oh, you've decided to disconnect from me.
Well, in that, as much as that whole problem sucks, it's one of those things. Like, I looked at that in the cell phone industry. Like, I'd been in the cell phone industry for a long time, and it sucked. Like, you had your choice of going to like wireless toys where somebody was going to sell you something that you didn't need, and you wouldn't even know it was there for several months. You know, that was like what you felt in our industry was you'd go into the store and you'd end up with something on your bill that you never needed.
Oh,
you know, you was like scammed
no.
into something, or you went into a store that like, it was like people that lived in their parents' basements. They didn't really care about being there. They were playing video games. They were doing whatever. So there was not a great, there was a very horrible sense about the wireless industry. And like, there's NPS reports that people would rather go to the airport and get frisked at the airport here than go into a cell phone store, which is horrible, right?
Oh my God.
Bad news for the industry.
Yeah.
Good news for me, because if that's the problem, good news for you, right? Because then you can come in and solve a problem, and people are like, oh my God, where have you been?
Yes. Yes. But also, I really want it to change.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that. Like, I mean, because you worked really hard within that to get the people that you were working with, at least in the right mindset.
And that's where I found Colleen.
Yes.
And, you know, who's like a legend in experience.
She's a legend.
Yes,
and it's because she's the pinnacle of customer service.
Exactly.
You say, hey, Colleen, bring a bag of chips or something to this party. Instead, she like brings a spread with steak.
Colleen would personally suffer before failing a customer.
Yeah.
Before failing a client.
Yeah. And that feeling of not having a human to talk to, and oh my gosh, and trying to help people deal with a cell or wireless type company. It's been 4 weeks for this one lady. Yeah. 4 weeks where I'm on the phone and I'm re-entering codes and they're sending her the wrong information. And then I'm on the phone with her. So they're sending stuff to my phone. I'm going like, no, it's not my phone. I told you and the last 19 people that, and I'm like, oh, I just really want somebody to decide to put automation elsewhere.
Yeah.
Let's get them demining. Let's get robots finding landmines. Or, you know what I mean, farming in a harsh climate to make it habitable before humans get there. Whatever it is. But like, why are we messing with like customer service when not humans? I just got on a soapbox.
Yeah.
Jason.
No, it is. It's everywhere you go.
Yeah.
In no matter what industry. And I was talking about before this, like I saw the writing on the wall with where the industry wanted even our retail stores to go. That was my differentiator, like for our whole entire company. It was like, I knew our clients didn't like being on customer service. When I was a salesperson, before I even became director of sales, that was my advantage. Like people would say, why are you more expensive than Best Buy? Well, remember last month when you came in, I was able to work on your bill and get you that $300 credit. And I do those things for you, you know, like you come to me because is Best Buy going to do that? Or if you call it Verizon customer service, well, no, they run you in circles and you know, it's like, you don't know how to talk to them where I do. That's my experience. And so providing an experience where I'll take that painful customer service experience where you have to talk to them and get your credit and get your things, I'll take that on.
Yes.
I'll do that.
Yes.
Solve that problem. I'll teach you. We created BlackBerry classes and it was all older people, right? And so we catered it to patience and understanding and teaching in like simple terms.
Yes.
And so then when I went to Wireless Zone, it was like smartphones and droids, but it was like, it was so cool because it became communities. It was like all people between 50 and, you know, like 70. We had we had a 90-year-old that would come in. Like the one lady would bring her mom that was in her 90s and they became friends and it was like communities. And
we volunteer currently at Brecken Village in Saline from 10 to noon on Mondays. And I was there last week helping someone who had an appointment. And I got there around dinner time, like 4:35, and I knew 85% of the people in the building. I'm like, oh, hey, hi. They all come in.
How's the phone working? How's the internet?
And that experience has been so amazing because they're like, I don't know why it does this. And I'm just like, because it was designed poorly. Like that's the answer. Because no one thought about you trying to use it. They thought about it just being a cool thing on your phone they could sell. I used to not think that, but now I'm like, why would it work that way? Why? I don't know. You're right. It does not make any sense, you know, because at first you're like, oh, well, you just don't understand how it works. And you're like, no, you do. It's just not good. That's the problem. That's the problem. So what I would love to see, like if we're dreaming, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, businesses rise and fall and trends come and go. So you just never know. There could be a huge swing back to human. Some companies going to revolutionize by
bringing humans back.
By paying humans to do good things. Is that possible anymore? Can we do that? Like, does it always have to be like,
like probably not in corporations. You know, and that's why I'm so passionate about small business is because we do have that opportunity to still keep things small and serve our people, serve our market. Because the corporations are always going to be about the bottom line. They're going to always be about taking more away from the customer to bring more profits in to satisfy the shareholders. Yes.
It's that.
Take away customer service? Well, great idea, because you know how much we're paying people to answer these questions?
Yes.
You know how much we're paying this person to answer grandma's
Yeah.
questions and she's got 30 of them and she's still not resolved. So then she rates us a 3. We'll just cut out that communication altogether.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Or you could just get better at it.
That's exactly it.
Or you
find
could
a way
just
to get
make
better.
your process big, as you could hear like 10 million people tell you, like, I don't like this process.
Yeah.
Then you could change that process and they would stop being mad about it.
So,
Could that
like,
happen? That would be great if that would happen.
It's so sad going into a cell phone store now because I've ran those and
I
like, I had
know.
a certain
How does
level
it
of experience. It's
feel?
horrible because like the
Do you feel
people
like
there
you
are
know
like,
too much? Like you feel sorry for
What's
them?
so funny is like you kind of lose it. Like I used to be like, people would come to me with all their questions and I would know everything. And it was like, and I'm like, I don't know. I still have the same phone that I've had for 2 years. I used to get a phone every 6 months. Now
Oh
I
my
don't-
gosh.
This phone I've had for 2 years, you know,
No.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was, anyways, I was
Yeah.
ready to be out of the industry. I'd been in it for too long.
Yeah.
But going into the stores now, we'd set people up with their contacts. We'd do all those things. Like the reps that are like, here you go. And like, is everything transferred over? No, you have to do that at home. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm glad I know how, but how do elderly people do that? How do people
it's
that don't
just
get technology do it?
terrible. I'll tell you what happens a lot that we see. A well-meaning son, nephew, daughter, daughter-in-law, whatever, sends mom, aunt, older sibling, whatever, a smartphone. Says, we think you should have this. It'll be good. And they send it to them in a box.
Yep.
You got to get it set up and stuff, though. That should take about 14 people a year, because there's so much you need.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you have to have another device to get a code, but I'm helping you on my phone, so they think it's my number. So they're confused because your email, you can't get to it because they're sending a code to a phone that doesn't work anymore. And they won't talk to us about the fact that that code that we need to start everything, they're sending it to the wrong place. But if they send it to me, then they start thinking that I'm the customer, and you start, you realize like, oh, people think, let's send them this thing so they can keep in touch with us or whatever, watch their shows, whatever they're trying to do. But it is like, it's handing someone way more than they need. Like, I think about all the things that are just on a phone, because everybody has a phone. I'll be like, okay, let me help you with this. This person happens to be, 84, whatever. Do you use GarageBand? They don't, by the way. None of the ones I've met. Why is it here? There's like 9
I can't wait
news
to
sites.
meet one that does. That does use GarageBand.
It'd be awesome. But the
It'd
thing
be
is,
awesome, yeah.
like, I'm looking at it like, I remember as soon as I got my phone, I'm like, delete, delete, delete.
you
I
delete
want
all
it to
stuff.
be super basic. I
Yeah.
don't want a bunch of things calling for my attention. It's a distracto machine, with waves coming up my head. And so I'll sit there and be like, hey, why don't we what do you use this thing for? And they're like, I don't know, I talked to my friend Janice. I'm like, let's just get it really good at doing the 4 or 5 things that you need, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yep.
I don't need to be playing a game or,
So you
I'm
help them simplify.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But also, I think that's a trend worth visiting as well, because there's always a new workout app
Oh, yeah.
or
Yep.
health app or finance app. I mean, they're not going to stop coming. So at some point, you have to start not from what's being thrown in your face, because marketing is so different now in the digital age, but maybe there's a new class in schools, right, called digital life awareness or something. And we teach kids how to decide what their life wants to be. And here's some digital tools that will help you. It's not like, here's your access to all the information in the entire known universe,
The problem
and
is the
you
kids
just have
get
to
it.
sort it out.
They're not
you
the
know?
ones having the problem, though. They're picking it up and like they
But
get it
they
for the
are
most part.
they are in the sense of addictions
Oh,
and
for sure. Yeah.
addictions
yeah.
and social media, bullying, things like that. So
Yep.
completely different issue.
Because they're teaching how to use it, because this is the greatest resource you
Yeah.
could possibly have from, from a business, from a connecting standpoint. But
Yeah.
it's being used in a totally, obviously, immature, young standpoint, and they don't know.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, it's like if I think about the way that when I was a child, certain advertisements and images could be blocked from me
Yeah.
fairly easily.
Yeah.
I lived in a small town. We only had a couple channels, and I would see a billboard here and there, but like I wasn't inundated 24 hours a
Oh,
day
yeah.
with images
Yep.
the way that they are. And I think, wow, of course, I also haven't been into a middle school or high school in a long time. So I don't know how it's being taught, but there's something about having access to every single idea in the world before you know truly who you are. That seems so unsteady. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No,
that
I totally
idea?
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about what do I actually need, like what am I trying to do with my life?
Yeah.
And are these things in this technology
Are they
helping
fitting
that?
Yeah.
Helping that or not? Because sometimes I'll go into people's houses, right? This is a common thing. And it not only makes me think about our business and our role, but just about what has happened to people as technology has risen and marketing is so robust, is that people will say, I think I want you to help me cut cable or help me, and we'll realize what they want is they have no idea what they own. They're paying so much money for TV and internet and smart things. They don't even know why they have all these things.
Yeah.
And it just kind of happened to them because it was happening to all the neighbors and it was being advertised to them. And they're like, I guess we should upgrade, and then we look at their life and we're like, you're just two people hanging out in a house watching 3 or 4 channels. This shouldn't take up $320 a month of your income.
Yeah.
If you just watch
These
like
4 or
Major
5
League
things.
Baseball and
Yeah.
Gilmore Girls.
So is that something you do? Do you come through and do kind of
Yes.
like a consulting? And
Yes, we've helped people literally. What are they paying for? They don't even know they're subscribed to these 3 or 4 things. They accidentally
Well,
got
we
on
live
a
in subscription
trial.
society. Everything's a subscription.
People don't know. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've sat with people who, and this is another thing. I didn't really expect myself to be on such a soapbox, but it's more about kind of like with wireless, what you learn about an industry when you're on the inside of it and how that makes you feel about their mission,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people do, email marketing, and I get that. But the era of subscribing everybody to everything it's just, a more inundating way of stuffing your mailbox with junk mail.
Oh,
but it's like
absolutely.
in your brain. It's like people will get hundreds of emails a day from
Oh man.
political
This is new service for everything. Yeah.
everything. And the auto subscribe, I'm hoping there's a day at some point, not that I want more laws on the books regulating business, but here's one I would vote yes on was if you automatically subscribe everybody to some kind of inundating email situation, or you hide charges and, automatically send people on a subscription or whatever, I think that should be a huge fine.
Oh, for sure.
Huge. Like what could it be? $100,000 a day per person? Like stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's for every single person that I work with. They're being
Spam
beat over the
email,
head.
just
It's
spam,
so
like
lame. It's like,
crazy.
really? Do you
Yeah.
want to be a part of that? Don't do that. Just communicate with layoff. Come on, people. Don't.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
bad.
Stop
Yeah.
it. Stop it. We want to live. You don't want to have to stop.
I just always am like, who does this work on? Who's buying this stuff?
Yes.
You know, because like
Yes.
I get so many marketing emails a day.
Yes.
LinkedIn was my platform of choice for so long.
Yeah.
But now it's to a point where I feel like it's like more spam than canned ham or fake ham, you know, like it's like, it's like
more spam than canned ham over here.
I actually found an actual message that was like worth me replying to the other day. And I was like, damn, I missed it because there's like all this spam in between.
Yes.
And then when they don't get a reply from your inbox on LinkedIn, they find your email and just shoot you emails. So I get these emails every day about, hey, are you interested in these leads? Hey, are you interested in, no.
Yeah.
I know people, like if I needed it.
You know what would be great is there should be a like box you can check that says, don't call us, we'll call you. It's like, you know what? I know who you are. I know what you do. Why don't you just leave me alone for a minute?
For a minute.
And I'll think about it. Please don't contact me again, especially not in the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trying to get out of some of those things, help people get out of things.
Do you do that too? Like, yeah.
We've sat with people and they're like, I think I'm accidentally paying for things, and I start going through and I'm just like, oh my God. And you can see the trail. So in helping people realize how many scams there are, we've built some workshops around this, you know, and I think there's workshops out there for this, but you get a text that says your UPS delivery.
Yeah.
You're missing something from your address, and it prompts you to like start entering information.
Yep.
And you can't do that. And people believe in UPS, you know,
those ones I can see work because there's obviously just something small off in the logo or in the writing, and it looks like it's coming from UPS or FedEx or Amazon or whatever it is.
Your package we tried to deliver your package, and you're thinking, I don't think I ordered a package, did I? And you start clicking on things, going, oh yeah, that's my name, you know? And I'm like, oh, people are nasty. They're using nasty tactics. So it's interesting being in a business that is always looking at another business. I feel like my business.
Yeah. You're looking at all these other. Yeah.
I'm always looking at all these other business going like, why would you do that? Doesn't that make you feel bad? Why would you use sneaky tactics? And but it's because of money. And then I go, oh, right. No. It's because of capitalism. That's right. You know, the lovely part of capitalism where you can go make your way, but also the other side, which is there's not a check and balance based on any kind of morality clause, you know? Well, that person's a good thing. They should succeed. Has nothing to do with capitalism. You know, it's more like, are they going to do the right things to make the money, you know, which might mean cutting out the humans out of so it's not just, it's interesting trying to build a company that does have a heart and soul, you know, and does focus on humans while looking at companies that seem not to, is a really interesting dynamic this last couple of years.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
So how do you? It sounds awesome because it sounds like you're really impacting and helping a lot of people out there. Like, how did you go out and start getting finding people?
Finding people.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
I can ask my question. Like,
yes. Well, first I started just hitting the ground. You know, I just did all the basic startup things. I started going to BNI and Sarasnet and chamber meetings and wearing my logo around and speaking in little groups and networking and all of that, which was a big, weird thing because I had not really done it for the few years during the pandemic. I hadn't really done it very much. And it was good to be back out there and be like, oh, I love this area for business. I really like a lot of the people in this area and the way they do business. And it was really very encouraging. And then we started finding people to partner with, we realized real estate agents would be a good partnership, you know, because they're dealing with people have to smart home, you know, or they have a question about how do I get all my stuff set up or whatever. And so we started heading in that direction. We started working with a few retirement communities. We met a couple of other people in the area that are doing a similar thing. And we realized like, oh, this person is very specific to small business networking their system together, but they don't really want to do what we do. And so we're good referral partners, or people that do in-home services, professional organizers. We partnered with some professional organizers, and they're a very good referral source for us because they're helping people with similar levels of overload. Too much stuff, you know, too much information just in the form of confusing garages and cabinets and a lifetime of things that they have to sort out. And then, doing things like Nextdoor, Facebook, and really just using that feedback that we get from people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know what? Do you use Nextdoor?
No, I don't.
Yeah, like I was never wanting to be on Nextdoor because people can be just really
That's what I've heard.
ragey.
I've never got on. Yeah.
Ragey Nextdoor. They can be just like,
I've heard there's like fights and like
there's
people
a
like
person in my yard. It's like, well, his dog was on it. Just calm down for 5 minutes. It's just probably just a kid or you know. And it's useful for some things, but one thing that's been really useful for us, people always go like, hey, I just moved in the area and I need a vet, or I need and that's really good. So I can say like, oh yeah, I know this person from Sarasnet or whatever. Yep. So once we get someone on there that we've helped them cut cable, or we've helped them with Wi-Fi or whatever, as soon as somebody on Nextdoor says, hey, I'm having trouble transferring my information from an old HP to the program doesn't work anymore, somebody will recommend us now.
Yeah, that's
and so
awesome.
we have a lot of Nextdoor referrals and a lot of Google reviews now. And the main thing I think is people want someone to sit with them and listen. That's what they want.
That's all it is.
Yes.
Even talking about from a sales standpoint.
Yes.
It's so much easier to sell when you go in ready to listen and not do most of the talking.
Oh my God. Yes. And what's interesting is we had this conversation today on a little team meeting about measuring time, because there's a service agreement, right? And, think if someone comes in your house to do service work, right?
Yep.
When does their clock start? And what's weird is sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we'll be at your house sometime between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. And you're like, okay, could we, never mind. I'm not even going to ask for more because I know there's no hope. But
and they show up at 9:30.
They show up at 8:54 and you've been waiting all day. And so, we're trying to be really like mindful of but a lot of times when we get to a place, we're in someone's home.
Yeah.
And we're the first person that's ever listened to them. They've been on terrible call after terrible call. And then finally their friend was like, I know some people who'll just come over and help you, and it's not we're not the only people ever to do it, but like maybe it's the first time they've ever. So you guys will just come here and then like, okay, let me make a list. They're so excited. And we get there. And for the first, we need to figure out when to start the clock, because a lot of it is them going, well, first we tried this, we need to hear their story arc. We have to hear their story arc. I don't even know what these are anymore because they were in here when we moved here, but we've never tried to hook them up. So if we could figure that out, this computer's been sitting in the corner for 6 years, but we think there's a lot of important financial information on it, but we don't know how to get it. They've got a list. Can you help with any of that? So it's a lot of it is this, how do we get in and be efficient, but also have good rapport and keep the human part,
Well, and I love how it reaches out too. It's not just the customers, but you're talking about going into these groups and making connections to other people and other services.
Yes. It's a team.
Yeah.
Team sport. Well, and I love it too. I had a friend who was just like, I can't believe how you do that networking. It's just so exhausting. And I'm not I'm more of a one-on-one or small groups of people person.
Mm-hmm.
And often in bigger groups, I just started wearing these kind of noise canceling earplug things in crowds. That helps a little bit, but networking can be exhausting. However, it has shifted since pre-pandemic. When I came back and started talking to people about AsKevin, I treated it completely different than when I felt I was just like an entrepreneur, like having to make sales. It was a different feeling.
Yeah.
So now when I'm out there, all I'm trying to do is play like the relationship building game. Like, oh, well, there's Jason Tracy and there's Kevin Saboski and there's Eloise Underwood. And so, okay, my goal today is going to be like, find out one more thing about that person, set up a time to hang out with that person.
Yeah.
Try to think of somebody I can refer to that person. Just make it more of like a community game without so much, I got to get something done. You know, there's a different mindset of just like, I just want to make connections, because the business people that I like to do business with take the time to make connections, you know, and you that person that you know what it is, you know what it's like. You just go, oh, I know exactly who to tell you about. And for a while, I remember a long time ago, we were doing this like coaching retreat. I mean, this is probably like 15, 20 years ago. And you circle all these things that are like your characteristics that you really want to hone in on. And it was this whole like going through your, what are the things about yourself you're tolerating and what are the things you're trying to grow and all this. But I realized like my favorite thing is the connecting thing. Like going, oh my gosh. Yes. I was at TEDx Detroit, and there was these people there that are making these bras, these very comfortable, soft bras, different kind of fabric, different size and shape women, only a couple size and everything. And I'm like, I know a bra fit model in New York. She's one of my oldest friends. We sold books together. Yeah. She could, like, what she does is walk around trying on bras that people are trying to see, like, how they fit. What do they need to do? Whatever. And making connections like that is so fun for me that as long as I think of it in that way, like above the level of business, but just like the fun of connecting people all over the world, like, oh,
it's taking the transaction out of the interaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so fun. It really takes the pressure off of business, you know, it doesn't take the effectiveness out of it. It just takes the pressure off.
Well, because when you do good things for people, it comes back around, and it's not like the knock again. Like I'm hey, remember that thing I did? It's just, it happens. Like
right.
You take care of all the people around you, and they take care of you.
Yes. And I realized when I first joined BNI, I think it was probably over 10 years ago around, and started thinking of all the people that I've met since then in various networking groups. And it's made me feel safer in my community. Like, as a mostly single person through all this time, just knowing that I had all the resources. I know a couple of great mechanics. I know a couple of good mortgage people. I know someone who makes locks. I know someone, I know all these. Okay, I have the resources that I need. I know there's good people in the community that I can find to do something. It's a very good thing I feel like it's a much bigger skill than I originally realized. When I was thinking about it just as like a business connections thing, it's like, no, you're building your resource. You need to feel resourceful to feel kind of safe in the world when things are crazy. And some people don't have that. And I've realized that over time, because people call and ask me. They go, hey, Shelly, you probably know somebody who da-da-da-da-da. And I go, oh, yeah. Let me get you a couple of things, and it's a developed skill, but it's more valuable than I.
Do you think you probably had that skill before going to different countries, or do you do you think maybe that was something that helped develop that too, in the sense of you're out there, like you said, you're starting this business, you're out learning different languages, like you got to survive, right? You're like, you're dropped, yes. Like you're survive.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, the door-to-door book thing is such a phenomenon. Like when you meet people who've done that, and a lot of my friends, I still know a lot of people in business doing a lot of great, big, good things, you know, who have done that. And it's still going on. Kids are still doing that. But what it is you must be resourceful at that point. Yeah. You must find a place to live. You must set up your bank account. You must get your business license. You must start doing all the book demos. You must control your schedule. You must understand your maps. You must understand your money. You must do it all, because it's like, that's it. It's yours. This is what you're doing. And so you get to where you're like, well, I guess I'm either going to change this tire or not work,
or just stuck,
or meet a mechanic. You know, there's only a couple of directions you can go. So you got to do it. Like this is what you learn, you know, however people learn it. But then as you get older, you realize like, oh, some people just didn't ever have to be that resourceful.
Yes, yeah.
And it was a gift to be like, you must, if you didn't have to just solve a problem in the middle of the nowhere, figure it out, you know, buy a map, whatever, fix your tire, whatever, or get out of a bind, or renegotiate something that wasn't fair. If you were never like forced to do it, then it's like, gosh, what a shame.
That sounds like the most incredible education ever. Like the best college ever.
Oh, it was.
We're going to just drop you over here and figure it out. You must do these things.
I know. And you must. And the thing is or not, and you're still going to learn something. Thing is, you choose to do all the things that you're supposed to do, it's still going to be hard, and you're going to learn a lot of hard lessons. But if you try to do it easier, it's even harder. It's even harder. I don't want to get up and do all these things everybody wants to do. It's like, oh, okay, well, it sounds easier, but it's going to make it way harder. You're just going to make it harder, you know? Like, yeah. And so then you realize like, oh, it's easier to just do the hard thing than to try to finagle some easier way. Like, just do the thing that you got to do. But also that is a lesson that you can't just, you have to learn it by your brain is tricked into thinking that you can get away with something. You know, there must be an easier way. It's like, there's not. Just do it. Just do the thing.
Do it.
Just do the thing.
Working for years with salespeople, it'd be like watching them fake their calls. And they're like, I was like, it would take them longer to like write out fake calls than like it took me to make the calls.
Oh my God.
And then I'd make money and they wouldn't, you know?
Stats liars, stats cheaters. Oh my gosh. You're like, really? These look a lot like last week. And every number looks the same, like you just did it all at once.
And that's just stressful. Like, that just seems so stressful. And you feel like you're going to get caught all the time.
How do you keep track? But when I think about how far back that goes, like in college, you know, there's the roommates and, you know, we're all hanging out and somebody's writing their paper and somebody else is trying to come up with all the reasons that they can get out of writing their paper so that they can go to this party. It's like, well, you could just do the paper and then just go to the party. Well, no, you know what? I'll say that my car broke down because it actually is broken down. But also I kind of hurt my foot. I'm like, you could just write it. I could, you know, like you just write the paper.
Because you got to write it at some point anyways.
Right. But at some point you're like, at some point, surely that worked for that person.
Yes.
Or someone modeled it, you know, and will they get out of it ever? Are they still doing this behavior pattern into the ancients, or were they forced to learn the lesson, you know?
Well, they learn the lesson every day. They just may not realize it.
Yeah. Yes. But there's like, well, I feel like when I think this is another fun way to think about business, but do you know what I mean when I say fetch quest and side quest?
No.
Video games?
Oh.
Do you know? He's nodding. Fetch quest and side quest. Okay. There's this main task that you're trying to do. You got to collect these treasures. You got to get over this mountain. You got to save the princess, whatever. And then the side quest is like, oh, all these flowers are lit up. I can go get 1,000 points if I get all the flowers, whatever. So when I think about fetch questions, side quests, with business, there's like, here's the game I'm trying to play. And then there's these side things, but you're learning to win the game. And if there's a part in the game where you're like, gosh, I can never get through this level. The same thing keeps happening to me every time, you know? And for me, if I can zoom out of a problem that I keep banging up against, either in personal relationships or in business, you know, where I'm like, oh, there's this thing coming back around again, where I have to stand up for myself. That's happening everywhere. Or there's this thing happening again where I thought I could trust that person and then I was wrong. Or well, where like I put too much faith in that system and the system was wrong, you know, and what am I supposed to be learning? And I feel like it's your level 305 learning, you know, you're this many levels up in the game and the game is saying like, listen, you're going to have to keep speaking up for yourself. Until you speak up for yourself.
It's going to happen.
It's going to keep happening because this is part of you got to check this box before you leave this.
Yeah. It's like Groundhog's Day
or the
video game. But like,
or you're in Earth school and you're making a C in this class and you can't get out of it until you get a B+. And you're still just kind of working C level here. And whatever that is that you keep coming up like, oh, I keep stressing myself out about blah, 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 what other people think. And you're like, oh, that's just going to keep happening until I, whatever you have to do to go through it, climb over it, burn it off, you know, get it.
Go through it, climb over it, burn it off. I love it.
Yes, you know what I mean now. You know what I mean. Like, is this something that I need to sit in silence and like pray to the abyss? Like, get it out. Get it out of me.
The one thing you can't do is avoid it.
No.
Because you're going to be smacked with it every single...
No, it's the thing. It's your lesson. And people are like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. It's like, because it's supposed to. It's Life 406. You signed up for it. You're in Life 406. But you will not graduate until you stop hanging out with people like that. You're failing that class. You're choosing poor companions. You've had the book for like 10 years. You've never read it. You barely got out of trusting terrible business partners. We thought you were never going to pass the class. Oh my God. So when I think about one of the things I was jotting down about, like, why do we get in business and try to do business, even though there's so many torturous ways it can fail.
Good question. Yeah.
Because something like, I was talking to my friend who was talking about when DirecTV business all failed, and she spent a month in a cabana somewhere, just sort of sucking her thumb. And it was like, oh yeah, things can fail horribly, epically. You're closing 5 stores, you know you're going to lose your ass on. You're moving out of state. You're like in a lawsuit with a relative. I mean, stuff. And that can be after like 12 glorious years in a town.
Yes.
You know, something goes wrong. You step on someone's toes. You mess with somebody's property, and all of a sudden,
boom.
You
Here
know,
you are in your reality now.
It's over. It's over. So in order to not take myself too seriously, because that can happen in business, we can be like, everything rides on this quarter. You know? Have you set your 4th quarter goals yet? And you're like, easy, buddy. Easy, coach. But in order to not get so stressed and serious, I have to see it as like, these lessons are going to be taught to me wherever I am, you know, and there are things at stake, but I can't like act like I'm carrying the world around. That's not helping anybody, you know? So when I meet a
This
business,
is so heavy.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
yeah, if we don't sell this many phones this quarter, it's like nothing bad's going to happen.
Nothing bad.
It's going to be fine. I mean, you're going to be pissed because you didn't win that trip, but like mostly things are going to be exactly the same. So just relax, right? Just relax. So when I think about just, you must not take yourself too seriously.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For
I
sure.
don't know where that tangent started, but that's where it ended.
That's true.
It's not over for sure. But yeah. Yeah, this is so fun talking about business. Or talking about, because it's not talking about business. This is one thing I remember from coaching. And I mean, you're full-time. You are a coach as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I remember, I was in this BNI group and they, you know, it's like SarahSnet and you protect your category. And I was in this group as this sales and business coach, and someone else wanted to join in a coach category. And so they all came to me and was like, Shelly, we'll let you decide. We will let you decide because like they're a coach and you've got the coach category. And I talked to this guy and he called himself a life coach or a leadership coach. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm cool with him.
Yeah.
Because we're probably going to get people wanting the same things, going for the same things, but one of them wants to see it packaged as me and one of them wants to see it packaged as him. And I don't really care, you know?
Absolutely.
And plus, some people need a life coach, but they don't think they do. So they're more likely to hire a sales and business coach, but it's all the same. It's not separate.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, that's my sales life, not my life. It's, like, it's the same.
Well, that's the easiest thing about sales is it is life. It is relationships. It is like people, you know, like they're all common elements.
Yeah. And a lot of salespeople are, I have seen in coaching, are not seeing the boundaries. They don't have any boundaries, right? They're gonna sell at 10 p.m. on a Saturday if they have to.
Yep.
They're just gonna, because that's the environment, like you're giving your all the time. And so hearing people not understanding, like there was this era where I was assigned so many clients that were men who were probably 45 to 55 years old, and they were at the top of their company, and they had gained 30, 40 pounds in the last 10 years and can't remember why. And they were a little worried about their relationships with their kids and their wife, but they thought it was okay, but they were a little worried about it. But maybe in the back of their mind, they were really super
Freaking
worried
out.
about it.
Yeah.
And also, they just were like not doing what they wanted to. You know, they'd been chasing, they'd bought in to a vision of success so early on and had chased it for so long. Without
and didn't realize they were miserable.
Didn't realize that they wished that they were. Well, tell me what your real goals are. And, you know, and they're making like $600,000 a year doing mortgage or something. And they're like, I want to fix old cars. And you go, oh, well, how often do you do that now? Never. I never do the thing that is the only thing I want to do. I think about it all the time. All I want to do is teach my son to ski and work on old cars, specifically this thing. It's like, seems like you should at least do that a little bit.
A little bit. That's all you're thinking about?
Maybe a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like what? So it was amazing to me to see how many like super successful people, their lives were so lopsided, you know? But I mean, everybody's learning their lessons. It's no judgment, but the awareness of what has been marketed to you as success. And when the reality hits you at whatever age it hits you, that is not a spiritually satisfying way of being. And that feeling of being like duped. What am I doing all this for? It's like, well, probably fame and fortune. I think that's what was sold to us. You know, that's probably why you're doing it. It's a pretty heavily marketed situation.
It's so easy. You don't even realize you got into it. And maybe there's like a passion even at the beginning. You know,
sure.
I had a friend that his son was on my son's football teams, and he was a high leadership guy at a major corporation. And I remember him just saying one day, like, man, if I could be anything, it'd be a nurse. I'd love to just take care of people.
Yes.
I'd love to, like, you know, he's like, I'm over this, but I've created this lifestyle.
Yes.
You
here
know,
I am
and now
now.
here I am. And it's like, I got to do it every single day. And what's so cool is he actually went and opened a co-op farm now. Yeah. And it's so freaking cool.
It's so good when you see people like, they look different. They sound different. Their story, the story, I'm sure you see this when you're coaching, when you're talking to people and they go, here's why I am who I am. And here's what I'm trying to prove. And they've got their story and they believe it.
Yep.
They don't even question that they are supposed to be better than their older brother, and that because their dad worked in auto, they're supposed to work in auto, and they got to be number one or whatever. And you're like, well, why though?
Why? At
some point you started telling yourself this story.
Yep.
And also this is part of your story, is examining your story, but still that realization of you are fully involving yourself in something that you're not, that maybe it's just been heavily marketed to you. Maybe it isn't an actual path that you need to be on in any way.
Absolutely.
But
we don't do enough introspection to understand who we are.
Yeah.
And we have to understand who we are before we really dive in and commit to these things, because it's very easy for us to wake up and be like, what am I doing? Where am I at? What have I been doing with my life? Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of, I would say though, if you're doing something, right? Mm-hmm. You're some age and you've thrown yourself into advertising or engineering or travel or being a festival person or whatever you're doing, you're fully into it. Be fully into it.
Yeah.
But don't, you're dating. You're not marrying this job at the whatever. These aren't the most important people in your life ever. This isn't the only thing you're ever going to have a chance to do. And and so be a little more relaxed about yourself,
Patience.
Yeah.
I see with a lot of younger people, especially as they come into careers and whatnot, they want to go linear really quickly. And it's like, you're meant to get these experiences. You're meant to get those experiences that you had selling books.
Yeah.
It's helped you throughout your whole entire life. Probably, like those experiences, the experiences I had all through my life, good, bad, and indifferent. Every one of them have prepared me for the challenges that I've had to overcome, or they've given me unique talents that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more things you do that you throw yourself into, as long as you can remember a couple of things, like trust if something feels terrible.
Yes.
Like there's been so many times when the universe has expelled me from a situation that I was in a little too long. And looking back, I'm like, wow, look at all those red flags I missed. Whoops. That was a terrible situation. That was terrible. Oh, I didn't even trust that guy. I knew that guy was shady, but you're just like, I guess I believe the best in people and this is fine. And then when you leave, you go, wow, oh my God, what a terrible situation. But that was your way to learn the thing, because now you recognize the situation. So the first thing I would think is like, if you can go from thing to thing and get really into it, but then trust if something is not right, or, oh, I feel kind of like I'm being bullied by this leader, or I feel like I can't trust that business partner because they won't share these financial things with me. It's like, well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Don't let that be okay. There's a lot of people willy-nilly doing business out there in the world, and You don't want to get too deep into that. Trust me. Maybe you do, but it's going to be a hard lesson. It's maybe that's your
have
path.
the conversation. I think a lot of people don't want to be confrontational, but
Yeah.
a lot of times it's just a misunderstanding or a miscommunication.
Yeah.
You know, there are bad people out there.
Yeah.
There are definitely bad people out there. They'll take advantage of you, but I think a lot of times it's just big misunderstandings because nobody knows how to communicate what is actually going on. And then somebody sees something, they start to see these red flags and they just hold it in until one day the tomato soup falls on the ground. And it's like, bah! Everything blows up.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember this song, this old song? I don't know why we were talking about it last night, but it's called Don't Cry Out Loud.
No.
Don't cry. Okay. It was a very popular song years ago, like maybe 1970s. I don't know.
Okay.
Don't cry out loud. Just keep it inside and learn how to hide your feelings. Melissa Manchester. So we were cracking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've listened to that song my whole life, never realizing she's saying like, don't express yourself. Just bury it. And it was a very popular song for an era of people that just totally believed that.
Just buried it.
Like, yeah, that's not a good message.
No.
Understand what you're feeling. Do cry, do laugh, do get mad. We've changed our position on that. So the other thing I've realized is you have to be equipped, especially now, I think, that there's so many gig jobs and so many at-home jobs where you have to, no matter what you're going to be asked to do, this is the only body and mind you have to do it with. So there was an era of my life that I'm sure a lot of people go through where you're just believe that you're invincible and that you don't need rest and you don't need to stretch and you don't need friends or whatever. You're just like, I can do it. I'm a cannonball. But those habits of like, how do I get grounded? How do I feel strong? Where do I put my faith? How do I nourish myself? All of those things. Because some jobs just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
You're not going to see it coming. So even whether you were good or bad at that job is not going to be nearly as important as how you react when it all falls apart. Because if you're number one at something, that's great. But if you're terrible at being number 5, you got to be able to handle yourself at your worst. And so what does that mean? Does that mean like being a sober person? Does that mean finding a hobby? It means like you have to be able to know how to ground yourself and soothe yourself and turn yourself around. Like if you're at a spot where you're not sure where you're going next, I think you can't go wrong with just, you know how when a country like where we suddenly everybody will go like, let's just work on infrastructure. Like no matter what political party's in power, we at least need the roads to work and like sewers and like let's just get that stuff in order. And sometimes I feel like, okay, that's just all I need to work on right now. I just need to work on my infrastructure. Am I stable? Am I strong?
Yeah.
Am I hydrated? Or I think about being an ecosystem.
Yep.
Am I clean? Am I healthy? Am I interacting well with my environment? Regardless of what job I'm working or what I'm working on, what my goals are fiscally or anything like that. And when you see those people, they can go from success to failure without, crumbling into a pile of dust.
Yeah.
Yep. Because sometimes just watching someone who's doing so well, if they don't have that resiliency,
Yeah. Well, it's there's some people that if they've never had a loss before, they're just kind of going through life and they've got lucky in the sense of they've had some wins. And then I had this manager of one of my locations that he was talented. He was good. He earned his promotion to leadership, but he earned his promotion to leadership to the top store in our company. And so he never had a challenge. It was always number 1. And then 1 month it got bad and then it carried over into the next month. And he had no idea how to pick it up. And people were coming to him like, what do I do, to pick this up? And he was like, we had to work through it because he had never experienced that failure before.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you've got it in your head. You start to understand self-talk. What's happened? You're in a slump. You're in a slump. You're in a slump. What's happened? Maybe you've lost it. Maybe you don't have it anymore. Maybe you've got imposter syndrome, and you're sliding. You're on a down slide, and you're believing it. You're believing it, and you know what's happening, and you also know that you don't know how to get out of it. It's terrible.
That is such a good point of taking care of everything. 'Cause you have one body, making sure you are taking care of yourself, because you need all the energy and everything to perform at a high level.
Amen. Amen. And when you, I'm sure you've coached people where you go like, you're doing a lot, and tell me, I remember helping this guy. He wanted to start a workout habit, and so we're looking at all of it from the different angles. And why aren't you doing it now? Well, I plan to get up at this time, and I can't get up. Well, why? Because you don't have all your stuff together. Da, da, da. Well, no. Even if I do that, but we had to go all the way back to the night before at like 6 p.m. and schedule generally, and like, when do you turn off your phone? And when's the last time you eat? And we had to like, well, tell me what happens before then. Tell me what happens before then. Like, because unless you're thinking about how your body's going to feel at 5:30 in the morning, at 6 p.m., like, your body's less likely to want to get up if you've had beer and ice cream at midnight.
Exactly.
You don't want to get up and go to the gym at 5:30.
Yeah.
Then if you had like a pretty good meal at 6:30, and now you've had all this, but you have to go all the way back and go like, oh, it's not just my willpower to get up at 5:30. It's like my whole entire rhythm of life needs to be shifted, which means maybe you don't, how many electronics do you have near your bed? And what kind of light is in your room in the morning? Just like all of these physical things that you can pay attention to and tweak to give yourself more of an opportunity for things to be easier, less things fighting against you, less like social media while you're falling asleep, or I'm back to the digital life now, but when people wake up first thing in the morning and turn on their phone, and the news, like within like 3 seconds of opening their eyes, the news or social media is in their brain, like within a minute.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, could you arrange your life to where the first hour of your day is not that, it's nature, or it's prayer, meditation, whatever, just slow cooking, sipping on tea, whatever. But can you relax your mind without the inundation of all that digital news and influence and everything before you even get yourself right for the day? Yeah.
It's like that digital leash. You're constantly tuned in.
Yeah.
Because you checked it before you went to bed, and then you wake up.
Yes. And even, and not even thinking about it, just all the messaging that's coming at you immediately about how you should be and what you should buy and bad things that are happening and all of it.
I avoid all that like crazy anyways.
Yes, good. Yes. Yeah. But it is hard. It requires you to you had to do that consciously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, there was like a definitive moment during 2020 and the pandemic, and it was like everything in the news feed was about everything that was going on, and like whether it was on social media or like the Google news feed and stuff, it was like purposely deciding not to look at any of that stuff. And like the things, when you decide to look at things differently, the things that you look at change.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like the algorithm programmed out all of that stuff. Even like negative people, because I remember saying like, man, Facebook is just like this disaster zone of people like fighting and stuff like that. And like the more I focused on finding other like great people that were doing positive things, the more of those people I found. Yeah.
I was working on this farm in 2020 election season, and I said, okay, everybody was spread out because it was a huge farm, only 5 or 6 people on this huge property at a time. And I I told everybody, I'm like, I'm not going to watch news for like 6 days around the election.
Yeah.
I can't handle it. I don't want to, I can't. I don't want to, just, if possible,
Yeah.
just keep me in a blind spot. I don't care, you know. And I told everybody, I'm like, here's my deal. I don't want to know. I can't take it for just a few days. And it was so relaxing. Somebody would come in and go, "Oh man, did you hear?" No, 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 no. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm just in here
Yep.
gardening. You go away.
I swear by if you take a vacation, turn off your devices.
Yeah.
You know, and I did it the first time when me and my wife got married, and it was like I came back and people literally were like, "Oh my God, you look younger. Oh my God, what happened? What'd you do? You look younger. You look like," and that was like, if that's like it wasn't just one or two people, it was multiple people every single
Yeah.
day. It was like, wow, that's a sign. You know,
Mhm.
like I've got to turn this stuff off and,
Yes.
and just totally refresh.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because we're so close. It's interesting to think how close. So Kevin Saboski
Yeah.
and I did my podcast a couple weeks
super
ago,
awesome.
and we
Yeah.
talked about Celestine Prophecy, which was this big book in the 90s, I think.
Okay.
Did you read Celestine Prophecy?
No.
I have a cough. So it was a book that we both agreed had gone. It was a phenomenon in the business world because it was, here's these insights that people are having, and it's affected. And the people who know the insights understand that consciousness is evolving, but we can't find them. The people that are trying to find them are in danger, and everybody's traveling to this place in Peru to try to find. And it became very quaint thinking about it because with the internet, it's really almost impossible to think about information that you can't find.
Yeah.
That seems ridiculous.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Like, have you heard about this manuscript? It's like, yeah, I just Googled it
Yeah.
in 1 second.
Yeah.
There's no like, we have to hunt this down on a mountaintop in a cave.
Yeah.
And then have it authenticated by a guy who lives in a village 1,000 miles away. Like, I Googled it and here's a picture of it. And so the idea that like we have so much access to the world, but also maybe not high enough understanding to handle it all and discern it all. I think it can be quite overwhelming to have so much access to so much information.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But where do you start? And our brains can only comprehend so much.
What do we worry about? And not that you want to be a heartless person, but what can you do? You can only do so much. You can only.
Yep.
So what? Yeah. Especially now, like, you can be a caring person, but also you can only do so much. So how are you going to spend your time and energy?
So my answer is like that's really what this show has been all about, is connecting the difference makers. And I talk about it all the time. I call people the difference makers because it's like, even through that 2020 thing, it was like, okay, there's a lot of ugliness, a lot of crap going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to seek the light holders, the light keepers, the people that are like ready, you know, like yourself, to help other people, to empower other people, to be like, to give the customer experience back, to go out and like, we've got to all unite together. And that's really what this show's been about, is bringing those difference makers on and giving everybody an opportunity to get their message out there, because there's like 4 commonalities between all my guests. It's a feeling that I know when I talk to people, that I know you're a good fit. But as we sit and we talk and I learn more about them and their stories, it falls into the bucket every single time, that they fall into these buckets of being curious about other people, solving people's problems, like, you know, all these 4 things. And so we band together and we keep growing our connections. We keep, and we keep serving other people and showing people the way, right? We go out and do what we would do, what we want from others. And we can save as many people as we can.
Yes.
If it's not just me doing it, if it's not just you doing it, but we're all working together in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel like I have a good team this year. Like this is the year that I've been able to look at, and I feel really lucky because I have a bit of freedom in helping build this. I have a bit of freedom to, okay, here's what I think my next 3 or 4 moves are. I need to continue building these relationships. I need to do this thing over here, and I need to test this model. But what's been so encouraging is to get back out into the world through AsKevin and networking and seeing people and realizing like, oh, there's so many people trying to do it right. I've met so many people who are at least trying, trying to be a good business or a good coach or a good trainer or a good, honest contractor of, I know a good roofing guy that you can surely trust. It's like, thank God for those people who were just trying to do it right for their own.
That's exactly it.
Yep. It's such a
and then we get calming, the ability to go out and tell other people about these people.
Yes. Let's all make each other's lives easier.
That's exactly it.
Let's all make each other's lives easier. Yes, for sure.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure.
Shelly, this has been so awesome. Yay. I appreciate you coming out. I was like, so glad you're able to come out to the studio.
Yes. Can I promote a couple of things?
Absolutely.
Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, AsKevin things.
Yes.
Okay. So on Tuesday, November 14th, so next Tuesday, we do free community tech support hours at Venue in Ann Arbor. So if you just want to meet us and see if you trust us, and you can come by Venue from 1 to 4 and bring your phone or your iPad or whatever, and we'll see if we can help you out with something. And I am actually doing a show. The other part of Shelly life is I do a lot of comedy and music productions. So
we didn't talk about any of that.
I know. Yeah. Well, we're gonna right now. But this Wednesday, so what's today? It's Monday the 6th, 7th, 8th. Wednesday the 8th is Bonnie Raitt's 74th birthday, and we're doing a Bonnie Raitt tribute show. Wonderful people that I've been performing with for over 20 years, a couple of them. Yes. And that's at the Arc in Ann Arbor on Wednesday. And then, I have other shows coming up. I do this holiday. They're all at the Arc, really, in Ann Arbor. So if you are familiar with the Arc, there's the holiday show coming up in November and 51st Jokes in January.
Do you have a link to this stuff?
Yeah, well, they're all on the Arc. So
cool. We'll make sure to get it in the show notes.
Yeah, and there's so all that's happening. And AsKevin, we're growing. We're in Washtenaw County and the neighboring areas as well. We've gone further out than that, and we make it worth your while and all that if we have to come far. That's the only. We're getting ready to start doing some workshops at Brecon Village, just some tech workshops at Brecon Village. So that is what is up with us.
Super awesome. Thank you so much. This episode, people will be listening to it that Thursday after the Tuesday. So what I'll try to do is get a little short clip out there, and we'll put it out on Facebook and
cool.
Try to get some people out.
All right.
Shelly, thanks again for coming out. And there's so much from this episode, so many gold nuggets that people can get. The community building, customer experience, like getting on your soapbox. I'm with you right there.
Yes.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
It was a good time. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Bye.